Ladies and sinners, welcome to another edition of the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. It's another Tuesday evening edition. We're killing it out here in Vegas. A lot of buzz around the Raiders. Even more buzz around the Las Vegas Aces right now, who have advanced to the semifinals. It was a sweep. No questions asked. And a record three-pointers. Three-point game, by the way. Killing it. Lady Aces are killing it. We're going to touch on that when we kick off the show anyway. And UNLV's right around the corner, so a lot to talk about. But the Raiders are definitely the focus, man. Raiders are running. They're running wild. The joint practice just started with the Patriots. Is Bill Belichick smiling at Raiders facility? What's up with that? Is that envy? What's going on? Mr. Six-time Super Bowl champ. Sorry, 8-time if you count the rings he had as a DC in New York. Lot going on, man. And Raiders had to cut to 8, so we'll touch base on that when we get back. And welcome back to the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. We're at it again on another Tuesday evening edition. You guys can catch us on our Twitter forums, right? At SinCity_IESR. You can get at me on my personal, Cale_Henderson, where we kill it, man. Again, this is IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tune in on Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we talk all things Las Vegas sports. IE Vegas, baby. Gotta love it. Lady Aces, man, they've killed it. They're kicking it off. But before we get into that, we are going to take a word from our sponsors, the people that pay the bills, the platform that we love to have our radio show on. For the last 8 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major shows, cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, we are ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs in all 32 of our shows. High tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. As usual, shout out to Taryn Rodriguez, who is in the chat. He's basically the best teammate you could ask for here at IE Sports Radio, man. We thank you. He runs the volleyball show here, and he was one of the first people to break the news that the Las Vegas Ramblers, just a few weeks ago, won the National Volleyball League Association, right? National Volleyball Association Championship. And hopefully, Vegas continues to have champions, because it looks as though the Lady Aces are cooking, man. They're just killing it right now. Lady Aces swept. You heard me. The Lady Aces swept the Phoenix Mercury. They had the number 1 seed. They ended up getting the number 1 seed after basically winning that Commissioner's Cup. On top of that, they're going on a run towards the end of the season. I think they won 7 of their last 8 games to end the year, and it really kind of put them a game above Chicago Sky. That tiebreaker towards the end of the season really meant something, and that's a huge deal. With that said, man, I mean, overall, Lady Aces just killed it. I don't even think this series was close. It was a best of 3. Lady Aces swept, going straight, basically 2-0 at home, and WNBA record to close out the first round of 23 three-pointers against the Phoenix Mercury. Man, they were dishing it out tonight, and that's why that slogan, that part of that description in our show is Las Vegas Lady Aces were all threes, man. They were all in on the threes, like they would be in the blackjack table. You know what I'm talking about? They'd be all black. I guess they're black and red, which is great. It's awesome, actually. Regardless, killing it. As we speak, the Chicago Sky, who I firmly believe the Chicago Sky and the Lady Aces will meet in the finals this year. Chicago Sky is currently holding a 56-42 lead in the third quarter against the New York team. Yeah, I'd love to see a good matchup, another Commissioner's Cup rematch. Lady Aces are killing it, man. They're absolutely killing it. If you guys want to take a look at the Lady Aces, look no further than ESPN on Sunday. This upcoming Sunday, the 28th at 1 p.m. That'd be 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's Game 1 against the Seattle Storm. Give it a look. I mean, the Seattle Storm are a good team. They're actually one of the teams that gave the Lady Aces fits this year. I want to say the Lady Aces actually had a losing record against the Seattle Storm. So should be a really good game. Should be something that should test the Lady Aces, or maybe they fire on all cylinders and continue this run. But the one thing I can tell you right now is they're killing it. They're hitting all the threes. And I mean, there's I think the last couple games they were above a 50% shooting on the field. Made a huge difference. Made a huge difference for this Lady Aces team. Lots of confidence with these ladies, and it shows. It shows with that sweep. Hopefully they can carry that on to Seattle because they're going to need it. So again, yeah, next game this upcoming Sunday, the 28th, 1 p.m. That'll be 1 p.m. your local time. Game after that, the 31st. So they'll get a couple day break. Still, it'll be in Las Vegas. This one will be 2-2-1 as far as the series. This is best of 5. This series is. The next 2 rounds will be best of 5. So the Lady Aces definitely have an advantage, being that they have their first 2 games at home against the Seattle Storm, and that should bode well. But again, best of 5. So all the Lady Aces have to do is exactly what they did to the Phoenix Mercury. Sweep them. Get them first 3. Get some rest. Rest up for Chicago Sky, which is what I think will probably end up happening. Lots going on in the college football world, because this weekend, guys, will be the first actual games in college football. Yes, we're all excited. UNLV is right around the corner. UNLV football for the Rebels, the UNLV Rebels, they're right around the corner. Coach Arroyo's 3rd season at the helm. It's his first full season when you look at recruiting, that has had the ability to recruit all off season without COVID in the way, without any restrictions as far as games are concerned. He's had a rough go of it, but this upcoming Saturday, the 27th, they take on Idaho State in Allegiant Stadium. And listen, they got to start off strong. I actually wanted to bring up, because I was looking at one of the predictions. One of the local Las Vegas people were having the UNLV Fighting Rebels. UNLV Rebels. It looks as though they were expecting them to go 500 this year. I don't know how I feel about that. What about you guys? We've talked about it a while. I mean, as long as the quarterback can stay up, they shouldn't have an issue. I do have a problem with the fact that he's left-handed. I think all left-handed quarterbacks should be abolished. That's terrible. Don't take that seriously. But the ball spins different. If you were a receiver, if you ever played a skill position, you had a left-handed quarterback throw to you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you ever returned a kick or fielded punts and you had a left-footed punter kicking the ball, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. It's the same thing that you experience in baseball. If you're a right-handed hitter and a lefty is thrown at you, okay? The ball just moves differently. It spins differently, and it makes it a little harder to catch, especially when you're used to all the right-handed quarterbacks. Like 95% of quarterbacks are right-handed. That 5% that's left-handed, man, it messes with you. It messes with you because if you're lucky, there's one on every roster so you can practice. It's kind of how that works. Overall, looking at the wins, I mean, I want to take a look. Let's go ahead and take a look at Mountain West Wire, because they kind of had a prediction thing going on with the overall with the UNLV Rebels. August 27th open to Idaho State. This writer from the Mountain West Wire, written by Phil, August 21st, so a couple days ago. He had the Rebels taking the first game against Idaho State 34-17. Little weird, considering Idaho State shouldn't probably hang with these guys, but maybe that's how he feels about this upcoming defense. Maybe he's not quite sure. I don't know. Phil, you're gonna have to answer some questions. If you guys get at him at the Mountain West Wire, don't take that. Game 2 against California. Cal 34-17. Again, this is a team that's rebuilding under Coach Arroyo. I don't know. That kind of makes sense. Cal usually plays tough. I know they're a bunch of nerds up there, but they are from a bigger conference, even though the Pac-12 conference is pretty bad. North Texas over UNLV. Phil, what's up, dude? Utah State over UNLV. Okay, that actually makes sense. UNLV over New Mexico. Yep. San Jose State over UNLV. I don't know about that one, guys. I don't think San Jose State is that great. San Diego State, yes. San Jose State, no. I think UNLV hangs with them. Air Force 35-27. Notre Dame 44-13. I'll be real. I don't even know if it's gonna be that close. I know it's a new coach there I know it's a new coach there at South Bend, but I don't know if it's even gonna be that close. No offense. It is what it is. San Diego State 27-24. That doesn't make any sense to me. I know San Diego State might have a down year, but down year for them is like 3 losses. They're going to have an excellent run game. I don't know if UNLV is built to necessarily stop the run yet. I would imagine San Diego State opens up the scoreboard a little bit on that one. Fresno State 37-23. UNLV 20-13 against Hawaii. UNLV 34-31 against Nevada. And that closes the season up with a what? 500 record, I believe. Kind of makes a difference. Really does. What 6-6 gets you in a bowl game, and I think that's what Brandon Arroyo needs, so that way he doesn't have anybody chirping behind him saying, hey, question marks. They shouldn't. The guy's done a lot with nothing. He's had nothing but trouble ever since he showed up in Paradise, right? COVID, 6 games, no real recruiting period. Following year, again, restrictions. It's kind of hard to compete when everybody's kind of opened things up again. This is his first full recruiting class. And I would imagine they're going to see some improvements. I don't know about 500. I was thinking 7-6. Maybe, 7-6, 7-5. Bowl game. I'd love to see that. If that happens, UNLV's on the up and up, because the Mountain West Conference, it's not going to be easy at all, guys. It's not going to be easy at all. You still have Boise. You still have the juggernauts. Utah State still there. Fresno, San Diego State. It's not going to be easy. We've talked about it for weeks. This is a tough schedule to be in when you're rebuilding, because some of those teams, at least 3 of them, could be playing in a Power 5 conference. Easy. At least 3 of them. And if we were talking about those 3 of them, we talk about conference realignment. Boise State could easily be a Big Ten team. Absolutely. Imagine them with Big Ten money and Big Ten recruitment on that blue field. Boise State would be a team that I could totally see there. Utah State should probably be Pac-12 again, especially with, or not again, but in general, they should be Pac-12, especially with USC and UCLA leaving. Now is the perfect time to bring them in. Provo would probably like them a lot. I could totally see. I don't know. After that, actually, I think you kind of stand pat. Yeah, I think you kind of stand pat. But Boise State, for sure, could very easily be a Big Ten team. They kind of had that makeup. It's a bit of a ground and pound type team. Gutsy. Would fit really well. So, yeah, UNLV around the corner, folks. August 27th. This upcoming Saturday, they take on Idaho State. We'll be cheering on them Rebels. And like I said before, folks, the 28th, LV Aces begin the second round, the semifinals, against Seattle Storm. 1 p.m. Make sure you guys are watching them Lady Aces. They're killing it. When we come back from the break, we're going to touch on the Raiders. The Raiders are still in training camp. They're about to be involved in their 4th preseason game this upcoming weekend. The 26th. Against the New England Patriots. They are currently hosting joint practices. When we get back, we will talk a little bit about that specific joint practice. On top of that, we have to go over those roster cuts here on Sin City Sports, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Damn! PDT! Set! Hey!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it. college football? And do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college in the CCCAA and in the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I A in the FBS? Well then look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Everybody, this is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los straight. Here to give you what you want. Here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy white tea. We are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back, ladies and sinners, to another edition of the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Vegas. Yes, you heard it, IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. It's another Tuesday evening edition. You guys can find us every week, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here on Spreaker on the IE Sports Radio platform. Again, IE Vegas, we focus on Vegas sports. We touch base on the Las Vegas Aces. The Lady Aces are killing it. They have swept their way into the semifinals now into a best of 5 against the Seattle Storm. That begins this weekend, this upcoming Sunday at 1 p.m. In Las Vegas for the first 2 games. Again, it's 2-2-1. That'll be that series there, and I hope we see another sweep. Just go after it, Lady Aces. Get them first 3 games. Don't even mess around. Just get them first 3 games. What if you broke the record again, right? What if you did that? Because that's how they won that last series. Broke the record for WNBA threes in a single game, 23. It's pretty dope. Gotta love it. Lady Aces are killing it. Cheer them on. UNLV's just around the corner. This upcoming Saturday, August 27th, they take on Idaho State. Kick off their season. Gotta love it. Support them Rebels while they fight. They fight in the Legion Stadium, the home of the Raiders. Speaking of the Raiders, they had to cut down to 80. It was that type of day. They had to cut down to 80. The notable cuts are obviously Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake, and I'll say it like this, egg on my face, because last week I was expecting Kenyon Drake to be one of the 4 that the Raiders decided to keep. Those four being Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, Zamir White, and Brandon Bolden. Those were the four I was expecting the Raiders to roll with into season or the first week, the beginning of the year, and maybe put Britton Brown, who was a 7th-round draft pick this year, out of UCLA on the practice squad just to keep him around. The only problem with the practice squad is if you do that, someone can sign them off the practice squad, and Britton Brown was good enough to play in a lot of teams. So basically the way it shakes out is this. The guys that are being drafted, the guys that are being selected to basically being added to the roster in the offseason are getting a fair shake. It's literally the best players play, and it looks as though the Raiders are going to roll into this upcoming season as of now. Now, again, this team has to cut to 53 players before the beginning of the season. Actually, I want to say it's mid next week. As of right now, the Raiders' running back room appears to be Josh Jacobs, Zamir White, Amir Abdullah, Brandon Bolden, and then again Britton Brown is on the fringe, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Raiders roll in to this upcoming season with 5 running backs, the way this roster is shaken out. It would be nice of one of those guys to end up on the practice squad, but again, it's something I think the Raiders fear. If they allow Britton Brown to go to the practice squad, someone's probably going to try and scoop them up. If you scoop them up to an active roster, you can pay them a bit more, given that 7th-round grade salary, but we'll see what happens. I think the strong move would be go 4 backs and then keep Jakob Johnson as your fullback. So you'd have 5 backs on the roster. I think that's plenty for an NFL roster. Carrying 5 running backs, or I-backs I should say, might be a bit rough, especially when you have 6 receivers that are killing it as well. So Raiders cut down to 80. That notable cut was definitely Kenyon Drake. Last week it was Demarcus Robinson, former Chief. But again, this tells you the type of depth that Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels have added to this team in year one. That the competition is so great that, guys that have had a history of being successful in the NFL are getting cut. That bodes well. It also tells the other players that if you play well during practice and you play well in preseason games, you're going to get a look. You're going to get an opportunity to stay. I like that mentality. Best man stays. Competition breeds quality play, and that's what we're seeing so far from the Raiders. A lot of things still to unshake. Nobody's safe, especially when you got to cut from 80 to 53 here in the next week and a half or a week. Nobody's safe, but you get 53 players on the active roster and 8 practice squad players. I want to say it's 16 total, but maybe they changed that since the COVID rules. 53 active roster players and then 8 practice squad players. So overall, you're looking at 61, 62 players for your team, your roster in general. And the Raiders have a lot of decisions to make because there's depth in the back. There's depth in the backfield. There's depth at the skill position. Where we're not seeing depth, and I'm going to go ahead and get after it, the offensive line. I honestly don't know what the Raiders' plan is right now. I've said this for weeks. We've said it since the offseason. The offensive line is still the biggest need. Right tackle is the biggest need on this football team. I'd say right tackle and an interior defensive tackle that is going to make a difference as a rotational starter are the biggest needs for the Raiders. They have $22 million. After cutting Kenyon Drake, they eat $3.2 million of his cap, but they do save, I think it's like around $500,000. So you probably have about $22 million and just under $23 million. You need to go out and spend that money. If you are serious about winning now, you have to go out and spend that money. There's two ways I see the Raiders really addressing this offensive line situation, this defensive tackle situation. One, they signed Sue. I think right now the reports are that Ndamukong Suh's asking for $9 million a year. Nobody in their right mind is going to give a defensive tackle who is 36 years old $9 million a year. He's just, I don't know if he's that type of player anymore. 5'7", probably. $9 million, no, probably not. Darrell Williams is still in the market. The Raiders could still go after him. He's a very serviceable guard. He's an excellent tackle, or I shouldn't say excellent tackle. He's a good guard. He's a very good tackle. He'd be a plug and play upgrade at right tackle. I just don't understand why the Raiders aren't looking into that. Isaiah Wynn has been a rumor as of late. As you folks may know, the Raiders and the Patriots are having joint practices in Las Vegas as we speak. With that said, there is a possibility that the Patriots are shopping Isaiah Wynn. Maybe they feel as though they have a replacement. I'm not sure. His fifth year's coming up. The Raiders would have to make a decision about his fifth-year option. Isaiah Wynn is an excellent tackle. He's a left tackle, though. He really is. He's a left tackle. Could he move over to right? It's very possible. He's an athlete. He played right tackle. He played guard at Georgia. Colton Miller also played right tackle, but do you move a top 5 left tackle over to right tackle? No. I still think Isaiah Wynn is a good option. Another one that I think would be more cost effective for the Raiders if they were going to make a trade, I'd be going after Andre Dillard in Philadelphia. Andre Dillard is a backup to left tackle. Man, all of a sudden I'm having a brain fart. Mahale. I think I'm close. Regardless, big left tackle in Philly. Andre Dillard is also a big left tackle from Washington State. He was drafted 3 years ago. He is somebody I also see. He's getting better. You see the reports. He's gotten much better. Unfortunately, he's just a backup. He'd start probably in most teams in the NFL. See if he can play right tackle. Make that trade. If the Eagles aren't asking too much, look at what you did with a first and second round pick. You walked away with Devontae Adams. What if they asked for a third round pick? Give him a third round pick, man. He's been a backup basically his whole career. His value is not high enough to where they're going to have to demand a first or a second. See if you can get Andre Dillard for a third. If Andre Dillard has the room to grow that he does, he's only 26 years old. He doesn't have a ton of reps under his belt. He doesn't really have any injuries. See if he'll play right tackle. If he can play right tackle, then you have two very, very good bookends for years to come. Between the two, Isaiah Wynn is the home run guy. Isaiah Wynn's an excellent tackle. He's been coached by Patriots. He has the system knowledge from Josh McDaniels. I think he'd be a plug-and-play right tackle, period. Because I don't think you move. Just the way I look at it, there's no way the Raiders move Colton Miller for Isaiah Wynn. Colton Miller's a better left tackle than Isaiah Wynn is a left tackle. Is Colton Miller a better right tackle than Isaiah Wynn? I think that's what the Raiders kind of have to play with there. But if it were up to me, go after. I think Darrell Williams is going to be a cheaper option, but the two of them, Isaiah Wynn and Andre Dillard, to me would be upgrades. They'd be absolute upgrades over Darrell Williams. They'd be absolute upgrades from what we're seeing now, and that kind of brings up. I was reading an article by Matt Holder. He is currently with the SB Nation or the Silver and Black Pride. He was talking about winners and losers from the recent Miami game. He noted John Abrams. John Abrams had limited snaps, but he's getting good grades in coverage, something he was very weak at last year, right? I think opposing quarterbacks had an astonishing 75% plus completion rating when throwing against Jonathan Abrams. He allowed one of the league's worst PFF grades in coverage, especially when he was being targeted. This year, he's showing an 89.7 overall PFF grade. At least that was against the Dolphins. That's a huge improvement if that's true. It was only 18 defensive stats for the first 2 weeks, but regardless, he's showing improvement there, and it seems as though Patrick Graham has him moving around pretty well. This is something we talked about in the offseason, okay? John Abrams is really weak in coverage, but one of the things we talked about was Patrick Graham is so smart as a defensive coordinator. He's going to try and put all of his guys in the best possible spots to win matchups. It's going to be a defense that is simple, something they play fast, easy adjustments to hide coverages, and he's going to allow his boys to just really roam, drop into coverage, do what they have to do. It's assignment-based football. It's what the Patriots were built to do. It's what this Raiders team is going to be built to do, and it's basically going to be adjusted on a week-to-week basis based on the opponent. Something we also haven't seen very much of with the Raiders for the last few years. So it will be a welcome change, and if you're getting that kind of production out of John Abrams, I still don't believe he's on the roster next year unless he has a all-pro type season. But you do see potential in John Abrams. He's a hard-hitting safety. He's a guy that when he's in the box, teams have to respect him. I think Patrick Graham will make that simple. Patrick Graham is very cool though too. I wish NFL Plus was cooperating, guys. I know I've kind of made mention that we're going to have a bit of a YouTube channel on IE Sports Radio featuring Sin City Sports, and one of those things we're going to feature is live games. Like, I'm going to show some highlights. One of the things I wish I could really show as of right now, if NFL Plus was working the way it was advertised, I'm guessing they're not going to really fully roll it out until the beginning of the season, but what Patrick Graham does, and it's kind of interesting, especially when he has his man looks, he will legit rotate safeties. You know, Abrams will drop back, Morig will come up, and he'll play man on the guy, you know, probably a slot or a tight end or whatever the design is. But it's very interesting. You don't normally see that. A free safety is normally supposed to be free, right? That's kind of the point of that position. Make sure that they always have the ability to roam. And Patrick Graham's defense, he's rotating safeties. I think that is super cool. It's a very interesting design, and it kind of allows versatility. Morig is probably one of the better man safeties in the NFL. We just haven't seen much of it because of the defenses he's played. Something he did very well in TCU was playing man coverage, quarters, too high. I mean, that's just something that Morig is very good at. He closes the field. I think he's got excellent speed. We just didn't see a ton of it last year in a cover 3 system. So we saw him bat down a lot of balls, maybe take some interceptions from Casey Hayward, but overall, the guy's a stud. He's going to have a big jump this second year, and I think Patrick Graham's going to be a huge reason. And if we see massive improvement from Jonathan Abrams, Patrick Graham's the reason. One of the losers in this article by Matt Holder, Silver and Black Pride, Alex Leatherwood. Alex Leatherwood is struggling. I don't know what to tell you guys. He's got a solid run blocking grade. His pass blocking efficiency appears high, but it was the fourth lowest in the last week. It's down because he was 92.2 the last month. Like literally week 1 of the preseason, the guy was in much better shape than what he is now. It just seems as though he's regressed, man. He's had issues, and I just don't know what to tell you. Maybe competition isn't helping. It seems as though Illuminor is going to be the starter at right tackle week 1. I don't know if I like that. He's a bit of a Josh McDaniels journeyman. He's been with the Patriots. He's familiar with the system. Maybe it's a system that plays to his strengths, but overall, I would like to see them make a move. Alex Leatherwood, there's a possibility he's moved back into guard, but John Simpson's also played pretty decent, right? I'll tell you somebody who is. It isn't just Leatherwood struggling. I think Andre James is struggling too. He had massive difficulties against Miami when Miami would twist their defensive linemen, and those defensive linemen were moving. They were physical. They were knocking Andre James out of his stance and really making him wobbly. I thought he played very poorly as well. Overall, Alex Leatherwood and Andre James, they do not make me feel good about being out there, man. They really don't. Andre James, to me, he was a cheap choice. He was no Rodney Hudson. You gave up Rodney Hudson for this guy, and he led the 29th ranked offensive line last year. And I don't have a lot of confidence that the offensive line is going to be that much better this year. If they crack the top 15, I will be shocked. If they crack the top 15, this will be a top 5 offense. And if they crack the top 15, it's because they're efficient in the run game, right? Which makes play action, pass blocking, and in general, just play action passing easier. But right now, man, I just don't see it. I don't see massive improvement. We don't know who our right tackle is. Our center is obviously struggling. The guard position, Lester Cotton sounds like he's right guard. He's kind of got that locked down, but there's still questions at left guard and right tackle. The 29th ranked offensive line from last year. They did play top half of the league type offensive line the last 4 games last year, but overall, it doesn't erase, the first 14 games of the season. The Raiders' offensive line was horrible, absolutely awful, and it showed, and it's showing right now. I just don't see the direction. I don't know why this staff is being so stubborn. And again, it's one of those deals where we were like this 1 to 2 days into free agency, and then we found out about the Devontae Adams trade and the Chandler Jones signing. I'm sure Dave Ziegler's on the phone. The Isaiah Wynn rumors are encouraging. If that's the case, they're having conversations. Bill and Ziegler are having conversations about what would be proper compensation for a guy like Isaiah Wynn. I don't know. But overall, this offensive line does not look good. It is the biggest need on this roster by far. They need depth. They also need starters. And, John Simpson could very well be that guy at left guard. Alex Leatherwood, maybe he plugs in at left guard. All I know is the left guard and the right tackle position are massive question marks for this team. And if they don't get it figured out by week 1, it's going to hold this team back. Good news for week 1. Chargers are down what looks to be J.C. Jackson. It seems as though he had some surgery on his foot. He's out 3 to 4 weeks. That timetable puts him into week 2-ish for a return. And even so, like coming off surgery and stuff doesn't mean he's going to be full speed. So there's a possibility J.C. Jackson doesn't play until week 2 or week 3. Raiders kind of get a pass there. I mean, they're kind of getting lucky these first 2 games. You're going to be out J.C. Jackson, right? So Devontae Adams no longer has that number 1 guy that they went and spent $16.5 million a year for to cover the number 1 guy. So Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, who's fighting some injuries, but it sounds like it won't be serious, and he should be good to go for the start of the season. I also feel like Darren Waller's going to have that contract extension he's been looking for before the start of the year. Week 1 and week 2 we're getting lucky because week 1 no J.C. Jackson bodes well for the Raiders as long as they run the ball effectively and they can really set up the pass game with Darren Waller and Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow and I told him, and Matt Collins for that matter, I think he's the commanding number 2. Tyron Johnson, DJ Turner, speed guys that could play in the slot, or maybe if you put them out in duos, they do some work. There's just a lot of potential with this receiving core, and without J.C. Jackson, yes, they still have Derwin James. It's just not the same. You went out and spent $16.5 million so that guy could shut somebody down and make the job of Derwin James much easier, and he's not going to be there. I think the Raiders win week 1. I really do. At this point, it was already hard enough for the Chargers because the Chargers were going to have to, try and learn the Josh McDaniels system, do film on that, figure out what they wanted to do. Like, what you see in preseason isn't going to do them justice, right? So overall, I don't know. I think the Raiders win week 1. Week 2, we have a matchup against a DeAndre Hopkins-less Cardinals team. Can the Cardinals keep up with the Raiders scoring-wise? They have the ability to, but without DeAndre Hopkins, can they do it? This Raiders defense looks much improved. Are they going to let Kyler just run around and make plays? No. Max Crosby and Chandler Jones are going to be a nightmare. A nightmare for Kyler Murray. It's going to have to be a quick college passing game, and that's something I think the Raiders can figure out how to stop with this, again, very deep cornerback crew. If Trayvon Mullen comes back healthy, and you have the luxury of marching out there with Nate Hobbs in the slot, hopefully, Anthony Everett, and the list goes on. Like I said, you have 4 starting caliber corners that you could throw out there at any time. Your safeties are Trayvon Moehrig, Jonathan Abram, Roderick Teamer doesn't do a bad job in coverage. You have a really good defensive backfield. Where I think the Raiders also need to focus is linebacker. I don't think they have a lot of depth. Injuries are creeping up. You really have Denzel Perryman. You have Devon Diablo. That kind of sums up your linebacking core right now. Young from the Titans a year ago. I don't know, man. I think the Raiders have a lot of work to do with some of those depth positions, but overall they're going to be an excellent team. Reports right now from Raiders reporters like Levi Edwards, Mario Tavar, Vinny Bonsignore. Overall, it seems as though the Raiders are dominating the Patriots in joint practice, and that says something because the hoodie is the coach of the Patriots still. Say what you want about Bill Belichick. Yes, he doesn't have Tom Brady. Doesn't mean he's a bad coach. That team is always prepared. And Devontae Adams is schooling them. Darren Waller is not available right now, and they're still destroying this defense of the Patriots. Makes you wonder why they let J.C. Jackson go. Was it behavior issues? Why were they so okay with letting him walk at just $16.5 million a year? I don't know. But overall, it sounds like the Raiders are dominating every drill. The quarterback's winning, even though Mac Jones, in my opinion, is a stud. I think he'll be perfectly fine this year as long as they get that going. That's another thing to keep an eye on, guys. I do think the Patriots are looking to move players. 2 of them, high cap number type guys. It wouldn't surprise me if the Raiders make a deal for a guy like Nelson Aguilar. I'd rather have him than DJ Turner on the roster. He's got rapport with Derek Carr. Derek Carr loves that guy, and he'd be a perfect number 2. Perfect number 2. Like, imagine that type of receiving core with Devontae Adams, Nelson Aguilar, Hunter Renfrow, Matt Collins subbing in. Let's see, Tyron Johnson, right? And then you have Darren Waller. I mean, come on, dude. It'd be an unreal offense. How do you stop those guys? You just got to be better than the Raiders' offensive line, apparently. I know that's throwing shade a little bit, but dude, seriously, all the Raiders really have to do is spend that money, man. Use that draft capital, spend that money, strengthen your team for the long haul. Because your plan is the next 3 years, right? And then 2.5 years from now, that's when Dave Ziegler has to take an evaluation on this roster and say, where are we at winning-wise? Are we in a position to compete for a championship? If we are, spend more draft capital. Because as we see with the LA Rams, draft capital is overrated. If you're bringing in quality players to make a difference and help you win championships, win a lot of games, get in the playoffs, does it matter? No. Look what happened with Matt Stafford, man. Guy got a lot of crap for being a Lion for years. He was on a really bad franchise. He goes to a franchise where they're loaded. Defensively, offensively, look what happened. Derek Carr has that same kind of talent. He really does. He doesn't get enough respect. I know you heard about all the Tom Brady crap and everything that happened this week, and nobody cares, man. Nobody cares. This team is loaded. Continue to load this team up. Spend every ounce of that cap space that's left, man. If you can win, do it. If you're okay with giving away a second and third round pick, a first round pick for an absolute difference maker, if the Raiders went out and got Roquan Smith for a first round pick and maybe a fifth round pick, I wouldn't bat an eye. Roquan Smith would come in, he'd add depth, he'd be a starter, he's a sideline to sideline linebacker. You're looking at Denzel Perryman, Roquan Smith, and Divine Diablo. With that offense or with that defensive line and their ability to rush the passer, come on, man. Stop it. This Raiders team, that defense would be unreal. It really would. Offense is already unstoppable. If the Raiders find a way to trade for Isaiah Wynn and bolster that offensive line that really just needs to figure out what they want. At that point, you just have to figure out what you want to do at the guard position. Sounds like Lester Cotton's the guy to be, is the guy at right guard. I've said this for a way. J.C. Treader, he's one of the better centers in the league the last 5 years. He's still available in free agency. Why haven't they looked at that? He'd be an upgrade over Andre James, man. He'd be a bit expensive, but Andre James' cap number this year is only like $1 to $2 million. I'd rather have J.C. Treader. He's a proven guy. Bring him in. Top 5 center in the league. Even at 31 years old, I don't care. Bring him in. The dude was struggling against some of the backups against Miami this week on twists. You're getting bullied around when you look at the highlights. A lot of questions, man. And I really do. I hope the Raiders figure it out before week 1. A lot of time left, but they should spare no expense. If you feel comfortable giving up a first-round draft pick to bring an impact guy like Roquan, if you feel comfortable enough to give away a second or a third-round pick for a guy like Andre Dillard or Isaiah Wynn or anything like that, guys you know won't be on the Patriots roster yet next year likely because Bill just doesn't pay players. They continue to rebuild their cupboard and coach them up. Do it. Bill will take that second-round pick and get a Cole Strange, who apparently has one of the best grades in all of the offensive line play this preseason. Not just the Patriots, this preseason. He's allowed one pressure on like 60-some snaps. Everybody was making fun of that pick in the second round, including me. I thought it was weird. It just wasn't the right timing. I thought he'd be available in the third or fourth. Nope. Patriots said this guy's a gem, and he's killing it. Give him picks, man. Bring in Isaiah Wynn. He's a stud. That immediately upgrades your offensive line and puts you in a position where you really just have to figure out which guard position you want Alex Leatherwood or John Simpson to be at, period. Who's compete for what? And it adds massive depth. Maybe you go for Andre Dillard, potential, over Isaiah Wynn, a proven product. It'll be a cheaper trade. He's a bigger guy. He's really good at pass blocking because he came from Washington State. He just would have to make a transition from left tackle to right tackle. But he's in his third year. His contract year will be next year. He's probably going to ball out. This is that window to win, man. Don't spare any expenses. That is what I would urge the Raiders if I was in Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels' ear. You have $22.4 million. It's going to be slightly more after the cuts. Do not waste that money. Go after guys that you think could help. If you think bringing in Darrell Williams right now at left guard is going to help your football team, you do it. I'm hearing rumors about Dylan Parham being that guy that could really fill in at the left guard position. Maybe John Simpson hasn't taken it. Maybe Alex Leatherwood, this staff just doesn't like him that much. Bring in Darrell Williams. It's not rocket science, guys. It's really not. Address your needs with draft capital. Address your needs with cap space. Compete for a championship. This would be the perfect time to do it. Vegas is at an all-time high stock. It would do nothing but get higher if the Raiders found a way to get to win games. Go out and get your nasties, man. Don't pay $9 million a year for Ndamukong Suh. That's an overpay. But if the guy settles at 5'6", do it. He's going to immediately bolster your interior defensive line. He won't be the starter. Bilal Nichols is the starter, but he would be a rotational starter. He would be somebody that come in and give you meaningful reps and take up double teams so Max Crosby and Chandler Jones can get around the edge and really dominate the way they need to. He would take up double teams, allowing Denzel Perryman, Divine Diablo to really roam and find the ball. Don't spare any expenses, Raiders. I'm stressing this. You got to cut from 80 to 53. Get the best possible 53 guys out there. Raiders fans, Raider Nation is tired of just squeaking in or barely missing the playoffs or going on a stupid run of losing towards the end of the year. Go all out. Put your chips, man. You got an excellent quarterback. You got a stacked receiving core. You got a room full of backs that could run at any time during any game that you feel like would be their strength. Your offensive line is your biggest focus, your biggest need. Your defensive line to again, take up double teams, provide more pressure with our outside guys. Now is the time for the Raiders to splurge that money. Get rid of them draft picks. Don't waste any expense. I've said it 100 times already. I'm going to say it again. Don't give up this opportunity. This division is stacked. Do not leave any holes if you do not have to. Adding an Isaiah Wynn, adding an Ndamukong Suh puts you, in my opinion, in one of the division leading positions. It's going to be very hard for teams to beat you. Cover everybody? No way. Right? Stop the run? Very hard. Bring in Isaiah Wynn. He's familiar with the system. He basically starts day one. No questions asked. All you got to do is figure out the guard position. If Parham's the guy, give it to him. Just don't spare any expenses, man. I want all $22 million of that gone before week 1. I want it all gone. I want them to have a future, a plan. If that means trading for Isaiah Wynn and extending him because he's got a 5th-year option coming, use that 5th-year option to your advantage and then give him 2 more years after that. Right tackle money. Or maybe just below left tackle money. Not higher than Colt Miller, of course, because he's not better than Colt Miller. You guys get what I'm saying. Fortify them bookends. Figure out the big boys in the middle. Because it's much easier to do if you have them 2 bookends. Protect Derek Carr. Allow him time to throw to Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, Mac Hollins, right? Tyron Johnson, DJ Turner. Do not spare any expense, man. I'm making it that simple. If offense can't be stopped, it's just going to make it easier for the defense. Look at what Peyton Manning did for years. Peyton Manning had a lackluster defense, but because his team was ahead, majority of the time, his defense was in a better position because all they had to do was pin their ears back and apply pressure. Use that same forte, but you have a better defense than Peyton Manning probably ever had, honestly. Spare no expenses, Raider Nation. Spare no expenses, Dave Ziegler, Josh McDaniels. Figure out your woes. Raider Nation pleads you. Reminder, folks, the regular season's coming. NFL Plus is supposed to be up and running, getting that Coaches All-22 film so I can give you guys breakdowns. I'm hoping to be able to give you guys slight either highlights or whiteboard content telling you why I think the Raiders won and lost and what their upcoming games are. Just stay tuned, man, because I think it's really going to help bolster the channel, bolster IE Sports Radio. You guys know how it is, man. Support the Lady Aces this weekend. Make sure you guys take a look at what's going on with the Raiders and the Patriots. Sounds like it's a great joint practice. Guys are having a lot of fun. You guys know where to find me, man. As always, you can catch this show live Tuesday evenings, 7 Pacific Standard Time. This is the IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson, and I wish you all love, peace, and hair grease.